facilities, especially in the fast-growing fields. Those labs are very expensive, and you all know if you've been in construction what those challenges are. There's also words in the bill, and you can get a copy of it anytime by just going to the web, encouraging partnerships with K-12 schools. All of you are doing that. Partnerships with industry, partnerships with philanthropy and the research community, so that we really can work together in new and different ways. There's also funding. There's $500,000. It's a small, I'm sorry, $500 million, not every, so it said, forgot the 3 zeros. But $500 million, $50 million a year for open educational sources to really build on a lot of the successes in distance learning and use the cognitive science, the new cognitive sciences, to ensure that more students can have access to knowledge and, you know, use that knowledge in self-paced ways, as well as ways to accelerate their learning. It's not a panacea, but it's a very important part of the bill because it will bring our faculty together around what should the curriculum be for the 21st century, and it'll give working adults the opportunity to have access to knowledge on their own time. So we hope that that will be funded as part of the bill as well. And the initiative will really, how is this all going to be paid for, you might ask? Well, with the Federal Student Aid Direct Lending Program, we will save the country $87 billion to subsidize loans over the next decade, so that we can not only pay for federal student aid increases, but also we would be cutting out the intermediary by making direct lending to students from the Treasury. And so the plan is to use the savings not only to help with the deficit, but to reinvest that back into the community colleges and the higher ed proposals that are in the bill, so that we can, as I said before, get more students walking across the stage. We also have $1 billion in the bill over 8 years for the Early Learning Challenge Fund, so that those would be state grants to really invest in early childhood, especially for children in our most economically disadvantaged communities in the country. And this is going to help get kids ready to start kindergarten. As you know, many kids, more than 25% of the kids are not ready to start kindergarten in those disadvantaged communities, and then get further behind as they go up the ladder. So it's our first step to say early learning matters to the entire educational pipeline, and it's part of the seamless system that I talked about at the beginning. We are going to return, the plan is through Congressman Miller, to reduce the deficit by about $10 billion. And as I said, we expect the Senate version to be released very soon, and we plan to work hand in hand with ACCT and other groups, AACC, of course, on your behalf, and the other Washington stakeholders. There are many. I've never seen anything like it in my life. When I drive down Massachusetts Avenue in Washington and I look at building after building filled with people who want something very specific, it's quite remarkable. But we will do everything we can. When you have a president that wins the Nobel Peace Prize and talks about widely shared prosperity, you just have to work 24 hours a day. That's all there is to it. And we have to get this 2020 goal. We just have to do it. He wants us to be the best educated, most competitive workforce in the world, and that's our goal. We need to restore our country to that. We also do things, a few last minutes, and I'll close just one or two more minutes. We do things every year that most people don't know about, but in my quick 13 weeks, I think most of you don't know that we give out $2.5 billion every year. Do you know that? The federal government, just in the higher ed grant making that we do. So as part of it, we've had a fund that's $11 million for community college initiatives this year. It was a discretionary program under FIPSE, the Fund for the Improvement of Post-Secondary Education, and it's a proposal that was developed to benefit working adults and displaced learners who are enrolled in community colleges, and 29 of our community colleges won those grants, and I have the list of all the grants with me. So I really want to congratulate all of you that went after these funds. They're multi-year funds, and they will be used to put people into jobs through the community college help that you are giving them in the curriculum. So we're going to have more students going through, and this is an example, these FIPSI awards, which allow the secretary to make grants for special projects that respond to problems of national significance in the country. And this was a special focus competition specifically for community colleges. 20 states, the 29 grantees are in 20 states. Many of you are here today, as I said. And I hope that as trustees and presidents, you're going to recommend faculty and administrators from your institution to serve on these FIPSI grant reviewer panels. Last year, out of the hundreds of expert panelists that are on lists, only 10 were from the community colleges. Well, how do you learn to get into these competitions? You've got to send people, and we actually pay money for people to do this. So we really want you to do that, and you can certainly talk to Amy Layton or me, and we'll get you the process and how to get involved in that. As I said, we award $2.5 billion in grants every year. And again, these are grants that give us the opportunity to see what's working and what opportunities we can build upon to improve, as I said, not only access, but quality and achievement. We need to do a lot more of this as a federal government. We really need a knowledge management system that's easy for you to use, to get into. We need to make transparent what we're doing. We need to also increase the rigor and quality of what we ask for in our grant making. And I'm not so sure that grant making is really where we can have the greatest impact as a federal government. Probably federal revenues are around 10% of, and state revenues are about 90% of the public institutions. And I think we really need to, and I've talked with George Boggs and Noah Brown about whether there can be some policy changes that we ought to be thinking about going forward. But today, we have these unprecedented challenges and opportunities both before us. And we are the public trust. We are in charge of supporting and increasing our democracy. And it might sound funny to you, but this is our work. This is what we're doing when those students walk across our stage. And we've got the interplay of danger and opportunity upon us. But we must really overcome these challenges, and I think all of you are absolutely the right people to move ahead on this, because it really is a new time, and it's a time to really achieve the President's 2020 goal and that widely shared prosperity that we want for not only our country, but for the rest of the world. We take our work very seriously in Washington. If you've been up close at any of the President's speeches, or you've seen Arnie Duncan or the rest of the staff, people are working very hard, but we need your help. It's going to take all of us to turn things around. It'll take facing an uncertain future. We have more uncertainty around us, but we can't do anything less than work toward that 2020 vision, and it's wonderful to have a 10-year vision that the President has given us. I can't imagine anything more important that we can do for our students and our country. Thank you, trustees. Thank you, ACCT, for the work you're doing. It's extraordinary work to lead America's community colleges. And thank you so much for allowing me to talk with you this afternoon. You want to get up here and say? No, I'll stay down here. Oh, you sure? Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you. I'm just... Hello. That's great. You want to say something?
Thank you, Undersecretary Kanter. We do have time for a few questions. So if you would like to ask the Undersecretary some questions, please move to the center.